Thomas, you could change your name to Thomas Swabi. Otherwise, I think your name is Swabi.
I try to do it right now.
I changed mine to tier.
Just tier. Beast.
Animal.
Beast.
Hello everyone, welcome to this conference presented by Okai. It will be on the following topic. Can scooter and e-bikes create a sustainable sharing businesses via unified charging system? It will be moderated by Lawrence from Okai. Lawrence, the stage is yours.
Aloha, can you guys hear me? Everybody there? Sounds great, fantastic. Let me go get into the screen here. Unfortunately, we do not have a live feedback, so if I'm talking, you guys likely won't be able to hear me. But let me give you a quick intro on who Okai is, in case you do not know who Okai is. It seems to be that many people might have tried or seen our products. However, you have not realized that there's a company out of Hangzhou, China, who's actually behind that. So Okai is traditionally electric scooter manufacturer. We've been manufacturing scooters for about 17 years now. Initially regular scooters, little kick scooters. Then it was scooters with engines, gasoline-based engines on it. Then it was NiCad-based batteries engines, and then eventually lithium-ion battery engines. And since the past about 3 years now, 3.5 years, we've been heavily involved in the sharing scooter industry, or the sharing industry at large, with some of the customers such as Tier, Jump, Tier, Bird, Void, and many others that are located in various countries all over the world. And as of this year, we are getting more and more involved into a multi-model type of system. And of course, with this type of scenario, we think it is extremely important to have a battery system that can work across the platform, right? And due to this, we actually are having this chat here today with 2 people from the industry, which we have been working with. And without saying anything further about Okai, I would like to introduce Matthias Wilrich from Tier and Thomas from Swabi. And then we can jump right into some of the questions that we have prepared here that we would like to talk about. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here. Hope you guys can see me. Hey, what's up? I think Matthias, hi, nice to meet you here.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Cool. And Thomas, you good? You live? Can we hear you too?
I'm fine. I hear you well, Lawrence.
Cool.
And
We were
Matthias.
just a minute ago, we were joking that, you know, usually we all wear hoodies, but today we're wearing shirts. But today he's wearing his hoodie and not a shirt, right? Anyways, so first question we have here is actually for Matthias. So as you, Matthias, you know, Okai and T have been working together very closely now for, how long has it been now? Good.
I think 1.5 years.
Yeah, almost 1.5, almost 2 years, going on 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess considering the industry, that's quite a long time. We have definitely had ups and downs and hiccups, but I think that our partnership has been, from my perspective, fantastic. I think that's the kind of partnership that and our business relationship that we as Okai highly appreciate and always looking forward to. And so I have a question specifically for you, since we've worked on so many different topics together over the last 2 years. What has been like one of the biggest challenges in creating an efficient and profitable operating model in this crazy sharing industry?
Yeah, so turning back the time and looking at the early days of scooter sharing or any e-mobility sharing, one of the biggest, if maybe the biggest cost bracket of them all was charging. So whether you approached it with a gig economy approach, or you looked at having a third-party operation set up, or you were doing your own operations that had notions to themselves, these solutions, yeah. But charging in general was the biggest cost block, whether you looked at it per ride or per scooter day, and that was clear throughout the industry. Naturally, we wanted to approach that cost block and look at what is the optimal solution there. And before I explain what we've done and why we've done it, and maybe how we got there, I'd like to share my screen for a second to introduce our solution. So how we do it right now. Let's see if that works. Can you see it? Only getting feedback from you guys.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so let's watch the video for a second.
Our vision to create a sustainable energy network that takes e-mobility to the next level starts here. The Tier Powerbox, a smart, user-friendly charging station that lets riders swap their depleted Tier batteries in less than a minute. Fully automated, requires no installation, giving local businesses the chance to gain new customers while reaching their own climate goals, empowering our riders, stimulating local economies, and electrifying European cities. It's the start of a new era. Tier. Change mobility for good.
Good.
Love it.
So this is what we are doing. And now the question, before I say the benefits of that and why we chose this, if it's not clear, how did we get there? Yeah, so I already mentioned charging was the biggest cost block, but cost is one thing, but I like to always look at something like the triple bottom line. It's actually what I graduated about. And triple bottom line means you don't only look at economical, but you also look at environmental and social impacts of what you're doing. And if you find something that can combine all three, that's the ideal setup. So looking at that triple bottom line of e-mobility and of the charging aspect, definitely collecting scooters, bringing them back to warehouses, charging them there was neither economical nor the environmentally friendliest solution, and also didn't have a big social impact at least. We moved to swappable batteries. That was very clear relatively from the start that we would see that as a dominant solution versus the non-swappable scooters. We introduced a program, my tier, that I'm also leading, to sell off refurbished scooters that were non-swappable to private users who would not need the functionality of a swappable battery, and gradually, or actually relatively fast, transition to a swappable battery scooter fleet. By that, we already minimized the environmental impact of our recharging and also improved the economics. But if you think about it, there's more optimization possible. So we wouldn't want to stop there. And if you think about how you minimize waste, and in logistics, it's all about that. A customer is already at the vehicle when using it. There's no additional way needed. So you have to bring charging to the right. By that, you minimize costs, and you again improve the ecological footprint of charging. And that leads me a little bit to the benefits of this. It's the greenest solution, yeah, because of these minimized waste. It is the most economical solution because of the same thing, but it also has a great social impact. So I think we published already in a press release that on average, someone swapping a battery, a user, has a €3.15 spending in a store where we put these boxes, which is also why one of the reasons why we chose indoor versus outdoor and these small compact boxes, because then we also make a good impact on the society. So you have exactly this triple bottom line, and on top, customers love the interaction. That's actually the path we've chosen and why we've chosen it.
It's interesting. So you said customers love the interaction, meaning that you have already tested this, or this is already live somewhere?
It's live in one city so far. So it's our pilot in Tampere in Finland. And yeah, that was actually to gain these insights and to see how it's accepted and how people react to it. And exactly this interactive point, if you think about it, the interaction before to a customer could have been very anonymous, not much more than getting on a vehicle, riding and leaving it somewhere. And now we have this added element. And that's something we wanted to test, of course, but we're happy with it.
And that's really important, you're saying that you're happy with it, right? I mean, that would mean that you are planning on then trying to, or actually are rolling this out in other cities throughout Europe, I'm assuming?
Yes, we've already announced we want to roll this out to other cities in Europe in the near future. So this is an operating model that we want to pursue in the future and that we will roll out. Can't give you specifics on timeline and which cities and regions, but it's coming.
Well, that's really great to hear. I really appreciate you mentioning that again. I mean, I'm assuming that it will likely also come to cities like Berlin in the future, right?
Yeah, we've told the Berlin press that already. So I'm not saying something secret if I say it will also come to Berlin. So you can do it.
Okay, cool. And then considering that you're headquartered here in Berlin, we have an office here in Berlin. bringing that conversation over to Swabi, who also is located here in Berlin, Thomas. So you guys have been up and running here in Berlin for how many years now, Thomas?
Yeah, actually, we started 4 years ago. For me, it's the 6th year in the automation business. I started there in a company and get in touch with lithium-ion batteries, which became pretty interesting to me. And already 4 years ago, we started something. Maybe I might choose share my screen as well. Actually, 4 years ago, I started at the company where we have introduced the first shareable battery for cargo bikes and LRVs. We saw that in the end, we need batteries, we need swappables. So we were very, very early on that, maybe too early even for the industry. And we developed that green battery you see here. And from then on, we saw even you have swappable batteries, there's still a missing component in the industry, even it's logistics or now micromobility. It's always a lack of infrastructure, and everybody tries to set up own infrastructure. That means high operational and high capex. That's why we decided to create our station for portable battery packs. And yeah, now we are online in more than 35 locations in Germany, Netherlands, and UK since last month.
Oh, you're in three countries now already, yeah?
We are already in 3 countries, and yeah, planning to go to other countries next year very hard, especially Western Europe and the Nordics, and of course UK, as micromobility is taking off there. We also be there with our solution. And yeah, so far.
So let me ask you this. I mean, looking at what you guys are doing versus, let's say, what TIER is doing versus maybe what other people in the industry are doing. I think both your companies, TIER being was, I would say, on the forefront of innovation and always like having, you know, some of the newest service models, newest products, newest vehicles in the entire world, I would say. And then you guys also, Swabi, of course, creating something that really didn't exist before in this particular category of that industry. What has been one of your biggest accomplishment of the last 4 years, particularly to this swappable battery system that you guys developed?
I can tell you from the very beginning, there have been a lot of challenges, but also some accomplishments. And the biggest accomplishment I think that we achieved with our team is the station you see right here. And this expresses a little much the madness that's out there in the mobility business. Because the station here, you can see, we actually run in other cities, can handle 4 different types of batteries that are actually used in the sharing industry. And this is the madness. And I'm happy that you as Okai are starting to become multi-model, right? And having one battery that fits into the e-bike and scooter, which is highly adapted and very, very good way to move people from A to B. Some people like scooters, others like e-bikes, and you're on the right way because, of course, we have achieved a multi-modal battery station where you can charge and monitor the batteries, get all the data from the battery. But this is also a headache for us. What we would really like to see and what we tried with our own GreenPack is to start some kind of standard for light electric vehicles and micromobility. And in my opinion, this is our biggest achievement. And I hope that you guys, as the industry itself, from Okai, you will start the bottom-up standardization. Because especially here in Germany and in all of the other countries and regions in the global world, we have approaches to standardize the battery. But I don't think that the top-down approach will be the right one. I think bottom-up is the right approach, and you're on the right way to change that dilemma with so many batteries in the market.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a few things that you mentioned that I should address here. One of them that I picked up here. First of all, congratulations on all the achievements that you've done so far. That I think it's definitely not easy to do what you guys have done. And there's a couple of questions that I want to bring in on that in a minute here. But one of the things that you mentioned was like us as Okai, when you said you guys, like creating some kind of standard. Obviously, we are a manufacturer and we build innovative things, but we definitely don't do it ourselves, right? So we work very closely with companies such as TIER. in other companies in other parts of the world. So creating a standard is, I don't think, something that will happen overnight. It is something, you know, similar to when you looked at back in the days when we had Windows phones and Android phones and iPhone phones and Apple phones and sorry, same thing, I guess. But like you had like so many different chargers and the Nokia phones, and then you had eventually it morphing more towards micro USB and maybe, you know, the lightning cable. And now that's slowly all moving over to USB-C, right? So this, however, has been a process that has taken almost 12 years. So, and the mobile industry is a very, very fast moving industry. So that being said, I think, you know, we have already done so. So when you look at the chargers that we are currently using, like the actual chargers, the AC chargers that are being utilized to charge the vehicles, they utilize the same plug as the ones from Segway, right? So as long as you're using either a 36 volt system or a 48 volt system, 56 volt system, as long as you're using the same voltage systems, you can actually use that same physical plug to plug in. So I think between Segway and us, we already are covering, I think, a really, really large portion of that market, right? Now, of course, this only refers to that little plug, which when we're looking at the swappable batteries, that's a different story altogether, right? And so the battery systems themselves, I think, are only in the very early beginning stage of this right now, right? So we are definitely on the same page here. So we do agree that it's extremely important to create a sustainable system that, you know, that can work, so to speak, cross-platform or cross-operator. But I think it's not going to happen overnight, right? That's our answer in this, and we need to be also mindful of the requests that we're getting from, you know, our customers, so that, you know, we can't just like develop a standard if nobody wants it.
Exactly. But the main thing here is you are listening and you're executing. And we've seen how the batteries have evolved over the years. And even the shift from your Model A to B is a big step into modern charging infrastructure where the user can swap by himself. And this is a big achievement in my eyes. And core thing is you're listening to customers and you're on the right way, in my opinion, to create a more sustainable hardware.
And this is where we can bring it back to Matthias here. I mean, this obviously the new battery system is something that, you know, again, was something that was created through collaboration. So maybe Matthias, you want to, like, you know, say something on this. This is not something that, you know, just Okai just came up with overnight. I mean, this is you know, we actually work very closely with our customers, and maybe Matthias, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the time we collaborated with Okai, we were always discussing what would be the next and maybe even the second next step when we were talking about what was at hand. Yeah, and I think that shows that at the same time, while you're running a very dynamic business in a very competitive space, you have the intelligence to juggle these different thoughts and still function as a business and as a person on both sides, because you're looking at we're going to introduce swappable batteries while you're ramping up a fleet of non-swappable. You're looking at user swapping while you're still basically just introducing swappable. So I think both Okai, but probably also ourselves with the acquisition of PushMe, we've shown that we can think long-term and execute short-term at the same time. And that is something we value a lot in the partnership with Okai, but also we think is generally needed in an industry where market share is constantly distributed on a daily basis nearly, while innovation needs to have a longer timeline and a little bit of foresight where you say, okay, this is what I want to do next and this is when I want to do it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I mean, this is a very, very fast moving industry, sometimes even faster moving than the mobile phone industry in that sense, right? Even some people, like I think Jorge Studio was calling it the iPhone on wheels, which I think in some ways he has some, you know, good insight there, and other ways it's very, very different, right? I mean, it's like, yes, it is fast moving, but we're talking about much, much larger type of products that are being used in an entirely different way, right? It's not something we put into our pockets and then we put it on our desk. It's something that we step on and ride on while it's freezing outside or while it's like raining. I mean, this is like this is a different kind of product.
And again, the innovation wasn't just on the charging side, right? So this is what we focus on today. We look about how charging innovated over time, and definitely a very important piece of innovation on this vehicle and for the industry. But if you look at all the other things that that gradually move into that space, and be it the helmet smart boxes we've launched, looking at the indicator lights that seem to now, so we've introduced them, and I'm seeing that they're coming for others as well. So these are good innovations. Yeah, this is good for users. This is good for the industry if they support safety, and they come at rapid pace. Yeah, and you always have to juggle between what is possible now, but what is ultimately my goal. And in this juggling, you're on a daily basis, and it's very important to be able to juggle that with your partners that you work with.
We have a couple of things here that came in. Appreciate you saying that, Thomas. Matthias. But what I was going to address is a couple of questions that actually came in here from the people watching, just so that we make it clear this is supposed to be like a real fireside chat, but we actually have people sitting in front of us in the audience. Hey guys, everybody, can you hear us? There's a few questions that came in, and we wanted to actually bring them up so that we actually do address them. One of the questions that obviously we think about, and I know that she also thinks about this, is what is the environmental impact of a swappable system, regardless of it being a user swappable or an operator swappable system, and that, so to speak, always needing 2 batteries per scooter, which we know it's not necessarily the case, but maybe Matthias and Thomas, I would like to leave that question up to you guys to maybe explain a bit more, since you're more on the operations side. We have a perspective, you have a perspective. I think it'll be very important to share those insights that we have. Perhaps this time Thomas can go on it real quick, and since I know Matthias, you also have some insights which you want to say, but Thomas, you want to give a note on that?
Yeah, that's the question is, there was an article by Super Pedestrian, and I've read it shortly. I just go through it, and in my opinion, you don't use 2 batteries per scooter. You will know that better, Matthias. You have some kind of overhead of batteries that you need to swap, but it will never be twice as your fleet size. We actually see that 25% overhead could be enough if you do that efficient. And there was also some claims that the batteries last longer. I mean, and then that would mean that in a super pedestrian scooter, you should take out the battery, refurbish it, and place it into another scooter. That is something that I see as a critical point. I don't know if this is really doable in the industry. And secondly, there have been also arguments brought up that there are some cables or connectors that are often used through swapping will be worn out pretty fast. I think if you design your hardware in the right way, I mean, there's German connector companies who promise you we start at 10,000 swap cycles for each physical connector. So it's always about how you design your system, and you can be successful with swappable and even more sustainable, in my opinion. There have been some questions arise that there could be some water resistance issues with swappable scooters. I don't see that. It's just the way how you design the overall system. And if you build in it, if you want to have a long-lasting battery, that means you might change your cell chemistry and also have long-lasting swappable batteries.
Yeah, but bringing it back here to the question of like 2 batteries per scooter. I mean, I think that's the question that we're addressing. We're not addressing necessarily the plugs or the waterproof or the IP rating. I think what we're looking at here right now, and the question particularly is what is the sustainability or environmental impact of having more than 1 battery pack per vehicle, let that be a scooter, a bike, or whatever. So Matthias, you guys are a multi-model operator, which is trying out bikes, which has mopeds, which has e-bikes, and of course, lots and lots of thousands of scooters. So you guys have some real numbers here, right? Are you willing to share some of those numbers with us?
On the number, I think it's a little bit of the secret sauce of our operations, but I can confirm that it goes in the direction of Thomas, yeah, and not of this article. There's no 2 batteries per scooter needed. If you need 2 batteries per scooter to run a swapping operation, you really have done something wrong. Yeah. Besides that, I'd like to comment on that question and on the article with a small remark and two questions, open questions. So I'm answering a question with a question, I know. First of all, remark, yeah. How many vehicles your battery lasts? So how many times, because they say the battery lasts 2 vehicles, depends on how long your vehicle lasts as well. Yeah, just food for thought. And second, it depends on how often it's ridden. Yeah, so there are other factors in here that make me wonder whether this is an accurate analysis. Yeah, in itself, because it's so subjective. Yeah.
So we have scooters that are lasted now for 15 years, but they've been mostly sitting in a warehouse. So fully chiming in on this. You're right.
What I mean.
That's the point, right? Like if you're using it every single day and you have 5 or 10 different people on it, and you're going like 10 trips of a kilometer or 2. With multiple riders on a rough road, and off and on, then hot climate, cold climate. I mean, you really have to be more flexible on how you aggregate those numbers, right? I think it's kind of.
But if I make a statement that my batteries last 2 vehicle generations, then I also indirectly make a statement about my vehicle generation, which, by the way, I think is not the case for super pedestrian. Yeah, so that made me wonder, because I would be surprised if their vehicles would last specifically short, but still that made me wonder. And then the other questions I have, and one goes in direction of what Thomas said, why wouldn't you be able to have a swappable battery that lasts as long as a non-swappable battery? There's no reason here, and so that's a bit inconclusive for me in this analysis. And the last question is, if it really was, I mean, if it really was ecologically and in this case, if this analysis holds true, maybe even also economically not beneficial, why are so many operators turning to it? Because they're also making their math, and they're also making up their mind about what they want to do. So a lot of questions for me after having read this article, and in relation to this question that I can't answer, but that need to be answered to actually make a fair statement based on what is claimed there. We believe, as I said before, that the user swapping system is the triple bottom line. Yeah, so that it's in all 3 categories most beneficial, and maybe we would argue differently if we didn't have it.
May I add something, Lawrence? In the end, you use swappables to increase uptime. If you have built-in batteries, you need to remove the scooters from the streets because there's no uptime. And swappables are there to keep a more efficient fleet in the streets. If you want to have 2,500 scooters and recharge the whole scooter, you will increase your fleet size. And is this sustainable? I don't know.
Yeah. Quick thing, we have like 7 or 8 minutes left here, so I just want to be mindful of the time. Not trying to be a stickler or anything, but there was a couple other questions that came in from the audience. There's a couple more questions that I had that I wanted to address. I will save one of those for later so that we can wrap it up with that. But one question I had that is important for us to address, us as a manufacturer who makes things for others, Swabi as a, so to speak, power type of operator who like charges and operates like energy for others, and then of course for Tia, who actually provides the vehicles in the entire experience for the end user. Now, the industry is moving fast, and so that means there's new things coming at all times, right? Companies starting, companies closing up, and companies creating new vehicles altogether. Then the new vehicle might have a new product, a new battery in it, and a charging system. So we have seen it over the last year and a half now, slowly moving, first slowly, then rather rapidly moving towards swappable batteries, regardless of that's like operator or user swappable. That means these batteries either are charged with regular plug or in some kind of charging system. Now, the question here is how many charging systems, let it be user swappable, operator swappable, how many systems can the market actually take? And when I say the market, I mean, it could be globally, or it could be in the sense of tier right now, maybe like in all of Europe, or of course, however you want to define that. Just when you answer that, define that in your question, of course, that, how would that work, right? Like, what could be possible, or what is truly sustainable to that point, right? Who wants to go first? Hands up.
Okay, in my opinion, I mean, we are starting because we want to become the #1 gas station for micromobility. Yes, and the thing is, we know that there's a lot of companies popping up in India and China. There's lots of existing ones, and in the end, everybody tries to solve the operations to decrease the costs and have an own approach. But we, at the same time, we know that there won't be space to set up all those different infrastructures. So in the end, I'm very happy about some kind of standardization in the battery business. And on the other side, I see the urge that there will be also some kind of consolidation. I don't know, 2, 3, 4 systems. Competition is always good. But in the end, we know that the public space is very rare and that you have to fight for the areas. That's why we're building
the public space. You mean you said the public space, the space on the streets,
in cities or on petrol station where we set up, for instance. That's why probably Tier moved also for the to the shops and roll out their system in retail stores.
Those are two different things here. I mean, when you say public space, we have to be very specific because I think this industry, like life at itself, is made up of very fine details, right? So when we say public space, we could talk about a train station, and actually roadway, something that belongs to the public, maybe the city of Paris, the city of Berlin, these kind of things, right? This is a public space as we know it. But now operating from a kiosk or operating from let's say a store within a gas station or from the actual gas station itself, this is no longer real public space. Now we're talking about
private but accessible.
Contract, private but accessible by the public, right? So but these are two different modalities, right?
Definitely, but we have not enough space in cities. That's why I think that we need to find universal charging solutions. We might be a part of it. Tier might be a part of it. In my opinion, the cities won't allow a closed shop solutions for operators. What we've seen working with communities is that they want to have a charging solution that is multimodal and that is open to different systems and not to only one. And this will be a really tough obstacle in next years to get the area.
But that's interesting you say like a charging system that's open. Tier. Question here for you, Matthias. I mentioned when I had a conversation with you before, while this is your system that you guys have developed, that you guys have launched, what's your take on being open, so to speak? I mean, is your system like the Linux of charging, or like how do you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, we've announced this when we announced the launch. Yeah, that maybe we want to gather our own experience first. Yeah, I think that's understandable. But we're willing to discuss opening this up. Yeah, whether there's someone building a vehicle who wants to use a standardized battery and wants to use our network, or someone who already has an Okai vehicle with a compatible battery. Anyone can approach us, and we're willing to talk. So we believe this should fuel electromobility, and not necessarily just here. And there was another question about indoor-outdoor, and Thomas, you're correct. We think indoor is essentially faster to roll out. Maybe in the future you'll see a combination of the two. Yeah, and there we're also willing to talk, of course. Yeah, so if someone says, hey, I want to put on classic gas station type outdoor cabinets for it and be part of the network, we're definitely very open to hear those thoughts and ideas and collaborate, because what is built here is supposed to power electromobility, and to open new doors. And that goes multimodal across vehicles, whether that's a scooter, a bike, a moped, whatever it is, a new vehicle no one has ever heard of before, and that's amazing. Yeah, so all that would be possible, and whether that's grade A, B, or C, or whether that's someone who just wants to host part of the network. We're completely open and willing to hear all ideas.
So Matthias, let's be straightforward here. If I was an operator in some other country that is or is not in one of the countries that you're operating in, and I come to you and I say, hey, you know what? Your system is amazing. We love it. We would actually, we would like to consider this. And I might just be a small guy, or I might be a big guy, no matter what. would I come talk to info@tier.app, or would I reach out to you on LinkedIn? Like, how would I do this? How would this actually work?
I mean, you can reach out on LinkedIn, whether that's to me. I mean, happy to receive those LinkedIn mails, and whether that is to me or to we have a colleague looking at the energy network and development, where I would then redirect.
Okay.
But yeah, this is part of the opportunity. Yeah, so this is not something where we say, oh, now we don't want to be concerned with anything that's not in our region or something. That's part of the opportunity. So we're definitely willing to talk there.
That's good to know. I mean, that really shows, to me, that really shows that, you know, when you say change mobility for good, I mean, that's your statement. And I really like when you say things like this, that you actually meaning this also on the implementation side, right? So it's I think having an openness towards that, you know, obviously speaks for your operational excellence, and that you guys believe in that, you know, regardless of who enters the market, you guys still feel like there's room for others, right? So and those others should chime in.
Definitely, and in this case, the market becomes bigger through the network, right? So,
right.
The market enables other vehicles to have a better cost structure and succeed. So it benefits e-mobility, and that's something that we definitely want to support.
Okay, we have one more question that I wanted to bring up, because it's a question that actually has been on my mind too, and then we're actually going to be running out of time soon. We had a question here by Alexandra, Alexandri, sorry if I say your name wrong. Are there any moves to define a real battery standard that would ease the deployment of charging stations and hidden usage, or what? Widen usage to personally owned vehicles, meaning in this case would be a Matthias, or in this case it would be maybe like some of the products and vehicles that Swabi is already, like, you know, servicing. Are there any things happening in this that maybe I'm not aware of, or maybe the general public is not aware of, that you guys can think of that might be interesting to talk about?
Should I take it?
Yeah, sure, go for it. I'll leave him some time.
Yeah, I'll be fast. So when we acquired PushMe, and these guys have done amazing job before and after the acquisition, and we talked with them and we realized it's very hard to set a standard if you're not active in the market, right? So usually a standard gets set by someone pushing it in the market, and so we believe, and I mean, we can't force it on anyone, yeah, but we believe by us pushing this in the market now, and having a battery form factor and an energy network, that whoever wants to follow can follow the standard. Yeah, so this is how a standard gets set. I personally find it hard to imagine that the standard gets set on a whiteboard, and that someone says, okay, this is the standard now, everyone agree. PushMe has tried this more or less indirectly, and I know there have been endeavors to do that. It's just very hard because someone has to make the first move, and
somebody has to have vehicles on the road, is what you say. You have to have users, and not just a few hundred, but like, yeah, preferably like in the millions. Even
if you have vehicles on the road, it doesn't mean you're willing to convert them, replace them, because to set a standard, you hardly can say like, what I have is a standard, but yeah, you need to invest, right?
You need to have users, and you need to invest. Yeah,
this is what I'm doing right now, and then you need to open up. That's how you set a standard. That's how you create a network. I think it's a proven way of doing that, while the whiteboard approach, I think, is very hard and a stony road.
To keep the story short, I totally agree. We've learned the lesson that putting up a standard by yourself, if you don't have any traction, is very hard. We've put our battery in 25 different applications, and still not having the numbers that Okai has on the streets, or that Tier has on the streets. The thing is, we've also in some committees setting up standards for portable batteries, and I don't see this coming, because every country, every global region has its own attempts to find a way to create these standard, Chinese standard, German standard, and so on. So I believe this will bottom up from the industry with the traction, and I hope that other will send you inquiries regarding the batteries, put them into sweepers, cleaners, whatever. I think the battery is good enough for other applications. I just wanted to end my part, because I won't have any time more. Last week, we have arranged 3 stations in the city of Cologne for one of the operators that is running with Okai scooters. Everybody who was listening to me, if you want to talk about Swabi and swapping infrastructure, hit me up on the link we can have a discussion and we can make your charging.
Or directly here in this autonomy app, I guess too, right? There's some way of getting in contact and chatting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or
I
LinkedIn.
think we have I'm not sure if you can hear it, but maybe see if we can hear it now. You guys can you hear that? Can you hear this?
That is Scooter sound.
Oh, can hear it. It was supposed to be the Super Mario mission and final stage completed. That was the sound, but it didn't quite work. Anyways, so I think we're hitting the 420 mark, which is where this thing is supposed to go. And so I'm not sure if you guys can still hear me, but I think we want to thank you very, very much, Thomas and Matthias, for being here. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know you both are extremely busy to chat about this and share some of your insights and knowledge with some of the people here attending Autonomy, and looking forward to meeting you guys again at some point in person, in whenever that might be. So thank you very much.
Lawrence, thanks for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. It's just
Thank
very
you.
interesting. You can keep on discussing on the platform directly with the audience, and stay tuned on Autonomy Digital for the rest of the program.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a good afternoon. Bye.